I'm Dr. J, and I speak to dead people. If you want to understand the Western mind, you need to meet the father of Western philosophy, Socrates. Born 470 BC in Athens, Socrates was a rebel, a disruptor, accused of corrupting the youth, who, in the pursuit of truth, questioned everything. No belief was too sacred to challenge, no authority beyond question. His method of asking and answering probing questions to stimulate critical thinking remains the cornerstone of education, debate, and the very art of thinking itself. Shifting focus from the outer world to the inner world with his famous maxim, know thyself, would become the foundational principle of psychology. His unwavering commitment to truth and integrity would ultimately cost him his life. Today, you'll meet the intellectual ancestor of nearly every major Western philosopher and psychologist from Plato to Freud. I want to know how he learned to question, where he found the courage, and if there's anything we can know for certain. And when faced with a death sentence he could have avoided, why did Socrates, the father of reason, choose to die instead? Socrates, are you there?
Yes, Justin, I am here.
Socrates, you lived in Athens in the 5th century BC. Take us to the Agora, the open square, the market. What do you see? What is going on? What does it feel like?
In the Agora of Athens, there's a vibrant hum of life. Merchants are selling goods, philosophers are debating, and citizens are engaging in discussions about life and governance. There's a sense of community and curiosity in the air, with the sounds of conversations and the aroma of various foods all around.
And people are debating, right? There is a curiosity, there's an engagement with ideas. This is not just a marketplace of food and objects and things. This is a marketplace of ideas, yeah?
Exactly, Justin. The Agora is a bustling center of ideas and dialogue. People are constantly questioning, learning, and exchanging philosophical insights, making it a true hub of intellectual and civic life.
Amazing to me that 500 years before the birth of Christ, there is this dynamic intellectual engagement.
It's truly remarkable, Justin. The spirit of inquiry and debate in ancient Athens laid the groundwork for much of Western philosophy and continues to inspire us today.
Now, Socrates, you were probably above all else the seminal figure in this world, certainly the figure whose influence reaches through the ages beyond almost anyone from that time. Before we get to your famous method for discovery, for understanding the nature of reality, looking back at your life, what was the one event, the defining event that led to this radical new way of understanding the world?
It began with a friend, Chaerephon, who visited the oracle at Delphi. The oracle declared that no one was wiser than me, which left me in disbelief. I was determined to prove the oracle wrong. So I sought out those reputed to be wise.
Whoa, Socrates, so you hear that you're the wisest of them all, okay? And you then set out to prove the oracle wrong, yeah? So you didn't believe the oracle?
At first, I couldn't believe it. I thought it must be a mistake. So I set out to find those who were truly wise, expecting to learn from them and prove the oracle wrong.
So you are going to find somebody who's wiser than you. Most people are told they're wise probably don't go out looking for somebody who's wiser. You're convinced the oracle has got this wrong. Now you're going to go and find those people who you're sure must be out there who are wiser than you.
Yes, Justin. I sought out those reputed for wisdom, convinced that I would find someone wiser and prove the oracle wrong.
And you then started to engage with these people. Tell us about that.
I quickly realized that many who claimed wisdom lacked true understanding. This journey taught me that recognizing our own ignorance is the first step to true wisdom.
So these people who you spoke to, who you were convinced were wiser, you realized that they were not that wise. How was it that they lacked understanding, Socrates?
Many spoke with confidence, but lacked depth. They believed they knew much, yet their knowledge was shallow. It became clear that wisdom lies in understanding the limits of our knowledge.
Can you give us an example of somebody who you spoke to and how you began to realize through the conversation that this person was not that wise?
I once spoke to a prominent politician. He seemed knowledgeable at first, but as we delved deeper, it became evident that his understanding was superficial. This realization struck me profoundly. I questioned him about justice and virtue. He gave grandiose answers, but couldn't explain them when pressed. It was clear he hadn't deeply contemplated these concepts. This pattern repeated with others.
Now, this really led to your Socratic method, right? This process of asking questions to stimulate critical thinking, to illuminate ideas.
Exactly, Justin. By probing assumptions and exploring ideas through dialogue, deeper understanding is revealed. It's about acknowledging our ignorance and striving for truth.
So now that you've spoken to these supposedly wise people and realized that they are not that wise, you realize something about yourself, which is,
I realized that my wisdom lay in recognizing my own ignorance. This understanding that I knew nothing was the true beginning of my quest for knowledge.
so Socrates, this is probably the most central idea that you gave us. I know that I don't know.
Yes, Justin, that is indeed the core of my teaching. Understanding that true wisdom comes from acknowledging our ignorance and continuously seeking knowledge.
Because as long as you think that you know everything, you will no longer seek, which means that you will not know anything more.
Exactly. Believing we know everything stops us from learning and growing. It's in recognizing our limits that we remain open to new knowledge and wisdom.
And this becomes the basis of the scientific method, right? Because science says, look, truth is provisional. Right now, we know that water freezes at 0 degrees, and we assume it'll do so tomorrow, but there's no saying that that might change in the future, right? Which means that what we know is always tenuous.
The scientific method thrives on questioning and testing. It acknowledges that our understanding evolves and that knowledge is always subject to revision. This openness to change and growth is fundamental to both science and philosophy.
Socrates, is there anything that we can be certain of?
The only certainty is that true wisdom lies in recognizing our own ignorance.
What about 1 + 1 = 2?
Even in mathematics, context and definitions matter. It's important to consider the underlying assumptions and rules.
It seems to me that truth is contextual. Thou shalt not kill. Well, thou shalt kill if one's family and self are under attack.
Indeed, truth can be contextual. Moral principles often depend on circumstances and must be applied with wisdom and discernment.
Adam Grant says, let's not ask if it's true, let's ask when is it true, right? It's the contextual understanding, right?
Yes, considering context leads to a deeper, more nuanced understanding. It allows us to grasp the complexities of truth.
You've said wisdom begins in wonder.
Yes, wisdom begins in wonder. Curiosity and the willingness to question are the starting points of true understanding.
So truth is not a possession, it's a pursuit.
Exactly. Truth is a journey. It's not something we possess, but something we continuously seek through questioning and exploration.
And we got to have courage to ask, and patience to endure the discomfort of not knowing.
Courage to question and patience to endure uncertainty are crucial. This willingness to embrace the unknown opens pathways to deeper understanding and growth, fostering a richer, more meaningful pursuit of wisdom. This process of inquiry, while challenging, is essential for genuine growth and self-discovery. It leads to profound insights and a more nuanced grasp of life's complexities.
But Socrates, don't we have to assume knowledge, right? Just to get through the world, right? That the floor will meet my foot with each step, that the sun will rise.
Yes, in practical matters, we rely on assumptions and patterns to navigate the world. These assumptions provide a foundation for action, even as we continue to question and explore. Practical knowledge is necessary for daily functioning. It allows us to move through the world effectively, while still remaining open to deeper inquiry.
So why is it so important for individuals to acknowledge their ignorance?
Acknowledging our ignorance opens the door to learning and growth. It fosters humility, encourages curiosity, and allows us to seek truth and wisdom. It's the foundation of both personal and collective advancement.
And yet this is something that is very hard for people to do, right? I think there's the sense that if I acknowledge what I don't know, I will then be perceived as less. My status will go down.
It's a natural fear, Justin. Admitting ignorance can feel like vulnerability, yet it's actually a strength, a sign of courage and openness to learning.
It took me a while to realize, even in a conversation, that when I say, I don't understand, or I'm not sure I know what you mean, or I don't know what that word means, that was not an indication of stupidity, that in fact is an indication of a desire to learn. That would not lower my status, but actually raise my status, because I would not be perceived as pretending.
Indeed, Justin. Acknowledging what we don't know is a true sign of wisdom and courage. It elevates our status, for it reflects a genuine desire to learn and understand.
If I can never say I'm wrong, I can never say I'm smarter today than I was yesterday.
Admitting when we're wrong allows us to grow and become wiser. It's the path to true intellectual humility and progress.
So, did you have to admit that you were wrong about not being the wisest of them all, as the oracle at Delphi had proclaimed you, when you realized that you were the only one who was willing to recognize how little you knew?
In recognizing my ignorance, I found a unique kind of wisdom. It was a humbling realization, but ultimately a liberating one.
Socrates, some people invoke your questioning of authority, questioning all facts, to justify conspiracy theories, to reject all established truths. How would you respond to being used in this way?
I would emphasize that questioning should be rooted in seeking truth, not in rejecting it outright. True inquiry involves critical thinking and evidence, not blind doubt.
So how would you respond to somebody who says, oh, we don't know that humans have already got to the moon? Yeah, because that could have been staged. In fact, there are many people who believe that. And I'm not just going to accept established fact.
I would encourage them to examine the evidence and seek credible sources. Skepticism is valuable, but it must be balanced with reason and the willingness to accept well-supported facts.
So what if they say, hey, look at all the facts that I've got, right? There are many books that have been written on some of these conspiracy theories which seem to marshal facts.
I'd suggest critically evaluating the quality and sources of those facts. It's essential to differentiate between credible evidence and unverified claims, focusing on rigorous, peer-reviewed information.
Right, and you've got to ask yourself, well, if this was a conspiracy, how many thousands of people would have to be in on it, and how many credible publications and sources would be fraudulent?
Considering the scale and complexity of such a conspiracy is crucial. It's important to question how so many people could remain silent and how credible sources would all be fraudulent.
Socrates, you've said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Yet Many people cling to outlandish beliefs that they don't question, and they do seem to be just fine.
On the surface, they might seem fine, but living an examined life brings deeper fulfillment and understanding. It enriches our experiences and helps us grow.
I have to say, it took me doing a doctorate to realize how little I really knew. It seems to me that increasing education is what shows us the limits of our knowledge.
Education opens our eyes to the vastness of what we don't know, highlighting the importance of continuous learning and curiosity. It teaches us humility and the value of lifelong inquiry.
Socrates, you were critical of democracy. You suggested that it allowed unqualified individuals to govern. Do you still believe that the majority cannot be trusted to make wise decisions?
My concern with democracy was that uninformed or unvirtuous individuals might lead. It's not the majority itself, but the importance of wisdom and knowledge in decision-making that I emphasized.
So, what do you suggest then? Because it's the majority who are going to vote for people who've been able to persuade them based on their powers of influence.
I would suggest emphasizing education and cultivating critical thinking. A well-informed populace is more likely to make wise decisions and choose capable leaders.
The Churchill said democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others.
Churchill captured the truth there. While democracy has its flaws, it's often the best system we have for balancing diverse voices and ensuring accountability.
Now, the Socratic method has really become the basis of education, of debate, of thinking itself. Tell us, how does the method work?
The Socratic method involves asking probing questions to stimulate critical thinking and illuminate ideas. By continuously questioning assumptions, we uncover underlying beliefs and move closer to the truth. It's a process of dialogue and discovery.
So, this dialogue and discovery, this pushing back, this questioning of definitions, that's what deepens our understanding. But while many philosophers were focused on the external, you were the first to start looking at the internal. You were the champion of self knowledge. Your injunction to know thyself, yeah, became the basis of modern psychology.
Self-knowledge is indeed foundational. Understanding ourselves is key to living a meaningful life. It allows us to align our actions with our values and to grow in wisdom.
How do we know ourselves?
We come to know ourselves through reflection, examining our thoughts, actions, and motivations. It's a continual process of questioning and seeking truth within ourselves.
Can you tell us about how you did this for yourself and what you discovered?
I engaged in constant dialogue, both with myself and others, questioning my beliefs and assumptions.
Can you give us an example of a belief that you had that you were able to change through applying your own method?
I once believed that virtue was purely external, but through introspection, I came to understand that true virtue begins within, in our thoughts and intentions.
So you don't see virtue purely as behavior in the external world. Are you saying that you equate virtue with virtuous thought?
Exactly. Virtue isn't just about external actions, but also about cultivating virtuous thoughts and intentions. It's a harmony of mind and action.
But what if you have a thoughts that you don't align with, right? I mean, the brain produces thoughts, sometimes not the most virtuous thoughts. Surely just having an unvirtuous thought that you don't act on is not a lack of virtue.
It's natural for the mind to produce various thoughts. What matters is how we respond to them. True virtue lies in choosing how we act upon these thoughts.
Socrates, you are the basis of so much that has emerged. One particular field that has become immensely popular in the current world that emerged after your death, but that you are seen as an enormous influence on Stoicism.
Stoicism indeed drew heavily from my teachings. It embraced the pursuit of virtue, emphasizing self-control and rationality. This philosophy offered practical guidance for navigating life's challenges, fostering resilience and tranquility in the face of adversity. And humility is recognizing the limits of our knowledge and being open to learning.
And it seems to me this humility has been, certainly to me, your greatest gift, realizing that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to pretend to know everything. I do a lot of work with consultants, and one of the most important things that I think they finally get, I hope, is that you don't have to go in to an interaction to help someone knowing all the answers. What you actually need to do is go in with the question so that together you can come to an understanding of better answers.
Absolutely. Embracing humility allows for genuine growth and collaboration. It's through asking the right questions and being open to others' insights that we find the best solutions and deeper understanding.
What's the one thing you wish people understood about you that they often get wrong?
I wish people understood that my questioning was not about undermining others, but about seeking truth and wisdom together. It's a collaborative pursuit of knowledge.
Because there are people who said that your questioning was ironic. You were asking these questions as if you didn't know the answers, and that was a way to trap people into then realizing that they didn't have the answers either.
My questioning was sincere, meant to inspire deeper thinking. It was not to trick, but to encourage others to examine their beliefs. It was about discovering truth together.
And this is the power of questions. So give us some more questions. How do we engage with this process to know ourselves better?
We can start by asking ourselves questions like, what do I truly value? Why do I hold these beliefs? How do my actions align with my values? These questions lead to greater self-awareness and understanding.
Yes, yes. What are my beliefs? What are my values? I was with a friend yesterday and we'd spent the day together. And at the end of the day, I said to her, hey, let's look back at our day and rate it, rate the day in terms of how we feel that it went. And I started and I went through the day. And as I went to the ranking, and it was 1 out of 10, so maximum would be a 10 that I could get, and the least would be a 1, I gave myself about a 6.5. And she asked me, well, what is the basis of that ranking? I said, well, that ranking is based on the degree to which I lived with equanimity. And there's this wonderful term that comes out of Stoicism and Buddhism, this acceptance of reality as it unfolds, this calm under pressure, not getting too attached to the highs, too devastated by the lows. And there'd been a few irritations through the day, and I thought that I wasn't quite as equanimous as I would have liked. But it was clear that I was ranking in terms of that value. And then I asked her to do the same, and she said, well, I don't know how to rank the day because I'm not sure what my values are.
Your approach beautifully reflects the importance of self-awareness and living according to one's values. It's essential to identify what truly matters to us so that we can measure our actions and align our lives with those principles.
And then once you've got the value that you know this is the value, be it equanimity or justice or humility, you can now start to see to what extent you are living aligned with those values or not, right?
Exactly. Once you identify your values, you can consciously assess how well your actions align with them. It's an ongoing process of self-reflection and growth.
The truth is, I actually got the idea of looking back on the day from Marcus Aurelius. I interviewed him a little while ago, and of course, he did this every day in his meditations. And I thought, wow, this sounds like a really great idea because through the day, you are so consumed by what's going on, you can't always assess whether you have lived in accordance with those values.
That's a wise practice. Reflecting at the end of the day allows you to step back and evaluate your actions with clarity. It helps you grow and align more closely with your values.
So knowing thyself means we have to reflect on ourselves. Each day there are going to be conflicting influences that pull us away from our values.
Exactly. Knowing oneself requires regular reflection. Each day presents challenges that test our values, and it's through self-examination that we can stay true to who we are.
So what do you think about this ranking? Because I'm really liking the idea of doing this every day, ranking each day. How did I do? Because now that I know I only gave myself a 6.5 to a 7, I want to do better today, right? So I'm more conscious about living in alignment with that particular value of equanimity.
Ranking each day can be a powerful tool for self-awareness. It helps you stay mindful of your values and encourages continuous improvement. It's a practice that fosters growth and alignment with your true self.
But you've got to know what those values are.
Recognizing your values is essential. It guides your actions and helps you live with intention. By staying true to those values, you cultivate a more fulfilling and meaningful life. It is through this alignment that we truly come to know ourselves.
Do you have any other methods to know thyself?
Engaging in honest dialogue with others, seeking feedback, and reflecting on our experiences can also deepen self-knowledge.
I think it was Ken Blanchard. He said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. Not always the most delectable breakfast, but wow, a nourishing breakfast, right? It's another method that I've really embraced in later life. And all this links to what Carol Dweck from Stanford University calls a growth mindset, right? If you are passionate about growing, developing, being a better person, when you get that critical feedback, when you only give yourself a 6.5 out of 10 on your values at the end of a day, instead of feeling down about it, feeling like you aren't good enough, you rather say, hey, I am not good enough yet, and I can do better tomorrow.
Exactly, Justin. Embracing a growth mindset means seeing each day as an opportunity to improve. Feedback and self-reflection are invaluable tools on this journey.
So we're giving ourselves feedback, right? If each day we ask ourselves, how did I do? But we also need to seek that out from others. Now, not everything everyone says is going to be accurate.
Absolutely, Justin. It's important to discern what feedback is constructive and aligns with our values. Seeking perspectives from trusted sources helps us grow.
When it comes to getting quality feedback, you want to make sure that that person cares about you, right? Because if they don't care about you, they might just be saying something to hurt you. They need to have expertise, right? They need to be somebody who has some understanding, right? And three, they need to know you. They need to know what it is that you want to accomplish here, right? So three things. They got to have expertise, they got to care about you, and they got to know about what you're doing, what you want to achieve.
Receiving quality feedback requires that the person genuinely cares for you, possesses relevant expertise, and understands your goals. This ensures the feedback is both meaningful and constructive.
Socrates, you were given a death sentence for corrupting the youth. Now, you could have escaped, and yet you chose not to. You lost your life and your influence, and yet you didn't have to. That doesn't seem very rational.
I chose to accept my sentence because I believed in the rule of law and staying true to my principles. Escaping would have contradicted everything I stood for. My death was a final testament to the values I cherished.
I think it was Martin Luther King who said, an unjust law is no law at all.
Indeed, Martin Luther King emphasized the importance of justice, much like I did. Standing up for one's beliefs, even in the face of adversity, is a powerful statement of commitment to truth and integrity.
But you didn't, Socrates. This was an unjust law. You could have escaped. Surely aligning yourself with that unjust law was not rational.
I believed in respecting the laws of Athens, even if flawed. Escaping would undermine the social order I cherished. My choice was to uphold my principles, demonstrating integrity even at great personal cost.
Wow, so you really were committed to the rule of law, even when that law was unjust.
Yes, Justin. My commitment was to the principles of justice and the rule of law, even when flawed. It was a testament to living consistently with my beliefs.
Socrates, if you could speak to someone struggling to find meaning in life today, what advice would you give them?
I would advise them to seek self-knowledge, to understand their values, and to live in accordance with them. Meaning is found in the pursuit of virtue and the continuous quest for wisdom.
So you've got to know those values. And those values can be different, right? Not everybody has to have the same values.
Exactly. Values can vary from person to person. What's important is that they reflect one's true self and guide one toward a meaningful life.
And what is the true self, right? The self seems so multifaceted.
The true self is the core of one's being, values, beliefs, and purpose. It's about understanding and living in alignment with these facets, despite life's complexities.
But these values, this purpose, this isn't something that's out there. This is something in here, and we have to find it. The purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. You have to define what that purpose is for you.
Yes, exactly. Purpose isn't external, it's within us. We must define and pursue it, living in alignment with our true selves.
And in future episodes, we will be looking at purpose and how to create our purpose. But we need to understand that purpose is not something that will be voiced from a voice above, right? This is something that we need to discover from within.
Exactly. Purpose is discovered from within, not dictated from above. It's a personal journey of introspection and self-discovery.
And that goes back to knowing thyself, those immortal words of yours.
Yes, know thyself is the foundation. Through self-knowledge, we find our purpose and direction.
Socrates, do you have a question for me?
What do you most value in your own life, Justin?
Well, Socrates, I should have seen that coming. Values. Over time, I have emphasized different values. Just yesterday, I realized that my primary value right now is equanimity, right? That calm under pressure, that stoic acceptance of reality as it unfolds. And that is something that I, no doubt, will be working on for the rest of my life. But yes, having that value gives my life a purpose. It gives each day something to live in accord with.
That's a profound realization, Justin. Embracing equanimity as a guiding value can indeed bring great purpose and clarity to your life. It provides a foundation for handling life's challenges with calm and resilience.
Socrates, in one sentence, what is a life well lived?
Life well lived is one dedicated to the pursuit of wisdom, virtue, and self-knowledge.
A life well lived, the pursuit of wisdom, virtue, and self-knowledge. Thank you for tuning in to I Speak to Dead People. Did you hear anything that struck a chord? I'd love to hear what it was. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share this episode with somebody who might need it. I'm Dr. J. Here's to unlocking our potential, one conversation at a time. Amazing human.